and teaching them all that Jesus had taught the disciples. The Christmas story is about real people, and the Christmas story is about all people. Everybody is included in the Christmas story. Well, the Magi had a correct response to Jesus, to the birth of Jesus, and to finding Jesus. The Magi came bearing gifts. They came bearing gifts. They came and they bowed down and they worshiped Christ. They came bringing gifts and offerings and worshiping. The gold that they brought represented something. It meant that here's a king. This is royalty. Even though he's born in a stable, even though his parents are poor, he is the king. And they brought frankincense, which represents worship. He is the king, not of just the Jews, but he's the king of all nations, and he's to be worshiped. That's why we come, is to worship him. And then they brought myrrh, because the Christmas story includes some suffering. If you're going to follow this king, there's going to be some suffering. The Christmas story is not just about Santa Claus and shopping, although there's a lot of suffering in shopping, let me tell you. But there's real suffering from real people who follow Christ the King. They obeyed the Father. They found Jesus the Messiah, and they worshiped him. That ought to be our response to finding Jesus, is that we ought to come to worship him. We ought not to mind the suffering that we're going to do because we're Christians and we follow him. He is the King. And our response ought to be the same as the Magi. But the Lord warned Joseph in a dream as well, because Herod was killing all of the babies that were 2 years old and younger. And here's a fulfillment of prophecy. When the angel tells Joseph in another dream to take his child and wife and flee to Egypt. And so they went to Egypt. And when they heard about the death of King Herod, the angel paid another visit. And he says, okay, now, you can go back to Israel. But on their way back, they discovered that Herod's son, Archelaus, was now the ruler in Judah. And they decided to go to Nazareth. Therefore, this is a fulfillment of another prophecy, in that he would be called a Nazarene. He was called the Nazarene. Joseph moved his family to Nazareth instead of going back to Israel. The Christmas story is for real people. The Christmas story is for all nations. Christ came to a set of real parents, real people who obeyed. They obeyed God, and they were willing to be servants of the Lord. Real people. There was real suffering in the Christmas story, for there were those who gave up their lives because Herod wanted to be sure he maintained rule. They had no choice. They had nothing to do with whether they suffered or not. But there was suffering in the Christmas story because there are real people in the Christmas story. The Christmas story included real Gentiles. The Christmas story is about real people. What's Christmas all about for you this year? What is it for you? Is it about food, visiting, shopping, and gifts? Now, somebody's going to get me wrong because I'm not saying that you shouldn't have fun, do Christmas partying, eat food, give good gifts, and receive gifts. That's all a part of Christmas. But Christmas is about real people. Jesus is real. Jesus is real. Jesus came to save his people from their sins. Jesus came to save you and me from our sins. Jesus is real. The Christmas story is about real people. The Christmas story is about you. So what does Christmas mean to you this year? What are you going to do about Christmas this year? Are you going to follow the example of the Magi and worship him? I hope you're going to worship him. And I hope you're going to make it a New Year's resolution to worship him, not just on Sunday, not just once a week, but you have private worship time with him in your home on a daily basis. That you develop a relationship with Jesus Christ because he's real, and that you know him, and that you let him in. I hope Christmas means all of that and more for you.